Hello everyone. Good morning. Namaste. Namaskar. I'm Purvi, and right now in Singapore. And this particular series or recording, I am doing because I wish to spread the word about zero waste living, and it started with my own little things at home, and now I'm slightly more enthusiastic about it because I've connected to some people who have inspired me. And it's not just about zero waste living that everybody talks about, making it a greener and a cleaner planet. It is also about leading a conscious life, making conscious choices. And I'm happy that at least I've started it. It's not that every day I've been able to do it, but it feels good that I am on this journey. And if I can, through some small efforts, inspire others, I think I'll be happy to do that. So today I'm going to talk with a lady who's a Singaporean, and while I was searching for how to kick off, how to start my life with just making my house zero waste. So I started first, finding stores where I can buy eco-friendly products. So that's how I found her store, which is a very small store, like a small kirana store in India. And there are small things like you can refill dal and rajma or rice, and the refill of shampoos, which I had never done before, a refill of my shampoo bottles, hand wash, and soap, liquid soaps, and also the menstrual cups or masks. So she doesn't have a lot of stock for a lot of things, but it is not the idea is not that. Idea is to give an option or a choice to the consumer that, look, this is also a way of life. And I think the first thing while and I entered into the store, she has handwritten quotes and inspirational quotes that are throughout the store, you will find, and they're very small and meaningful quotations. And one of them said, it starts with like 5 R's, and the 3 R's we have read quite often, and which are reduce, reuse, recycle. But the first R is actually refuse. So I was like, why I'm in a store and I'm not even encouraged to buy? So it is not exactly a store which encourages you to pick up and buy more things, but it actually asks you to question that I need only this much. I want that whatever I buy is useful, and I know how it is ending the cycle of where it is going after that. Is it going to be a landfill product, or it is going to make a compost? What it is going to do to the earth? So I think it is worth asking you a question. And the last R was rot. So I think she's here. Her name is Hui Hien, and she's going to join the call now. Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? Right here. Okay. So, hi, Hui. Should I call you
Hi.
Hui? Uh,
Yeah, sure.
okay. So, yes, this is my first interview with her, and I am a consumer at her store. And I think I will not do much of talking. I will let you talk. So, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Of course, this starts with the fact that I want to inspire myself and my friends and family on the path of zero waste. So, please go ahead. What can,
Okay.
yeah, tell me something about yourself and about your life in Singapore on the path of zero waste.
Okay. So I'm a Singaporean, and I actually worked in the oil and gas industry before. So, actually, my whole career is in oil and gas. So, the the issue about climate change, recycling, and all these kind of things is actually not foreign to me, and it's something that I have been always thinking about. And so when we were like little children, okay, there's a strange echo. So when we were little children, the issue was more about deforestation, right? So I became more acutely aware about the need to be environmental, but I did not see the big picture yet until I get into the industry, where I see that there's a lot of things that doesn't make sense, and I started questioning, because being in a big company where we always talk about like increasing the sales of things, right?
True.
So I was just wondering, yeah, we sell a lot of this, but so what we did was sell the raw material for making mattresses. So one of my supplier is a very no, one of my customer is a very big manufacturer, and they produce over, if I can remember correctly, in the old days, it's like 20,000 mattresses a day. In a day, 20
Oh,
mattresses,
wow.
and that is just one manufacturer. So then I was just thinking, I change my mattress like once every 2 years, or even like if you get a better one, once every 5 years. So where all the mattresses go, right? What's going to happen to all those things?
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of question about how we are pushing for consumption all the time.
Right.
And yeah, so afterwards I get to feel like, hey, the environment, there's something wrong with the environment. There's something wrong about our health. There's something wrong about the air pollution, water pollution, all those kind of things. So then one day it kind of like dawned upon me that they are all like interlinked. And if I want to like stop the suffering of people having some illnesses or whatever, then it actually all boils down to being sustainable in my point of view. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
uh
Yeah. So
yes.
I actually I remember that the first time I got into your store, I was impressed by very little things. And the first thing was when I read that I usually read about 3 hours, but it was 5 hours. But the first one said refuse. So I was like, why a store is telling me to refuse buying things when I'm here to buy things?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was impressed that this idea, it's not about buying, it's about consuming things you need and rejecting those that you don't need. So,
Yeah. So the reason why I decided to step into retail is because I wanted to provide an example of a retailer that I wish um, I I can get, right? So if I'm not getting a retailer who is willing to do that, then let me just try it, just give the community a message and a chance to say that, yeah, we should rethink consumption, because I can make the money, but do we have the environment and the health to spend that money? Yeah. So customers who do come back, they believe in the zero waste consumptions method to continue what we need to consume. So in actual fact, there are lots of things that we still need to consume. Yeah. So, but how do we do it with less impact on the
right,
environment? Yeah.
absolutely. So, I mean, when the products that you have in your store, how do you end up selecting them, or how do you find your suppliers? Who you choose? Is it only based on like they should not create garbage, or there are more things to consider when you put a supplier or product in your shop?
Unfortunately, at the present moment, the zero waste scene, I would say, is like beggars cannot be choosers. So the the zero waste supply is very limited, and most of the suppliers are still like saying, well, you have to commit certain amount of volume if you want it to be in a large packaging. So how I do is to select only like suppliers who are willing to provide me in a packaging that is bigger than what is available in the supermarket. So for example, the biggest package that I can get for dried pasta is only 5 kilograms, right? But in the supermarket, you buy, I don't know, 500 grams. So that package can basically only save like 10 or rather 9 pieces of the plastic.
Right.
Yeah. But then in other cases where I have the option, for example, we have local manufacturer for the cleaning products, and they do what we call a milk run. So when the containers are emptied, then return it to them where they will refill it. So then that is my priority. So if another company is to come up and say, hey, I have zero waste tablet, right? Nowadays you have this cleaning tablet, which you can dissolve, but it comes in like a candy pack. Yeah. So that is additional packaging. So that I will not consider, even though it's a biodegradable, but we are still throwing the packaging away for convenience. Yeah. So I did speak to the supplier. I said, can you just make the tablets without the packaging, put it in like a big jar for me, since you are making it in Singapore, right? Then they said that, oh yeah, it's not going to work very well for the consumers, you know, you will gain moisture or something like that. Then I said, yeah, then I said, we can try to mitigate it, but if you're unwilling to take that risk to try it out, then I'm not going to supply that product in my store. So yeah, so there are areas where I can choose, where there are areas where I cannot choose. But I think if you are in places like in Malaysia or in India, where you have a huge manufacturing base, local manufacturing, it is way much easier. So like, for example, in Malaysia, their pasta, they don't have a stringent manufacturing law like in Singapore. So if I want to sell pasta, if it's made in Singapore, it has to come from approved licensed kitchen. But in Malaysia, they don't have such a rule. So they actually can have pasta made to whatever volume and then close by. So for example, if your pasta is not moving at like a ton a month, then you just buy whatever quantity you need and you can have it in the packaging. So the zero waste stores in Malaysia, they actually work out with the suppliers to have the pasta supplied in their own container.
Wow.
And then get refilled.
Directly get it, yeah.
Correct. And then they also have got like spice making suppliers who will mix the spice into their container, and then they basically they don't have packaging for that. Yeah.
So I think because Singapore anyways you don't have manufacturers here, they have to send here in packets and then you can supply. That's that's a challenge particularly in Singapore, I think. So do you think that we should have more of these stores so that at least there is more visibility for people to have a choice to buy? Because when I go to buy toothbrush, I need toothbrush, I'll just go down and the closest store to me, that's a natural thing that a consumer will do, that look out for convenience when it's buying a simple product like toothbrush. So I mean, how we can promote and reach more people to choose, make choices, because you're right that it is about making a decision, but when the decision is actually in front of you and you have to make a choice, it should be visible also.
I think in this sense, Singapore is easier because we have many outlets. For example, Scoop, right?
Yes, yes.
So they are in very convenient places to go
Mm.
to.
Mm.
In actual fact, I don't think that we should have more of these stores
Mm.
because we need to have a consumption habit where
Mm.
it's not out of convenience, but so it's a little bit of an inconvenience. And I think the customers will say, "Oh, you're crazy. How can you ask to inconvenience me?" Right? So, but the convenience of consumption is what causes us to overconsume. So if you have to plan ahead to make the consumption, then you are more careful about stretching. For example, you say, I'm not going to, let's say, Eco.le, or I'm not going down to school this week, right? So I'm going to stretch my toothbrush for one more week.
Right.
And then I will go and get the other one. Or
Sure.
I'm not going to get flour. So let's see what else I have, and I will change the meal plan to whatever that I have in my kitchen, right? So it is through this kind of discussion and communication that I hope that people will rethink their whole consumption. It is actually quite sad. I remember there was once a little kid came into my store and saw some of my beans running low, and then she said, she's just a really small kid, and she said, "Oh, auntie, you have to fill your beans to the as full as possible so it looks nice." So yeah, I mean, the presentation of a shop is also what creates the waste, right? So let's say NTUC, right, the supermarket here in Singapore, if they have to always keep their fruits, vegetable shelves full, but if the community has already purchased all the thing, so what is going to happen to all those vegetable, the perishable that is sitting on the shelf to look good, to look full, right? I think it's okay to let the shelves run low, right? And then you come again when the next stock comes, right? So that we actually do not throw away extra things that have been left on the shelf to look full and it cannot move. And then when the time's up, they just chuck it. So
food waste. Okay.
yes, so a lot of food waste is actually because people put the thing, and the rate at which the product is stocked, right, is actually faster than the consumption. So if how to meet that middle point where it's just nice, it's quite difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
Fine. If I ask you as a question, like an entrepreneur, like setting up a store, how much do you think? I mean, just by calculation or understanding that somebody wants to promote this idea somewhere closer to their place, and they want to open the store like this. So, what would be a cost to open and make the supplies work? In a setup like yours, because Scoop is a big business, they have their own way of working, but if as an individual you think that this creates a little bit more impact, so yeah, how much is the cost?
For me, as a small business, the startup cost is not really high because as you remember, you come to my store, it's very simple. So and where I can, I actually use repurpose. You remember the seat that I have, which is pails, and also shelves. Some of them are like secondhand. In actual fact, if I was able to coordinate faster, even my lightings can be secondhand. So in Singapore, for example, the turnover of businesses is so high. There's a lot of all this kind of like shelves, lightings that are thrown away when the business falls. So if there is a platform where businesses can go and get all these secondhand items, then the cost of setup is very low. But of course, you also need to consider the aesthetics, right? So it all depends on how much you want to do. So I think 20,000-30,000 to stock up, as well as to have the store installed with all the furniture, is in terms of Sing dollar is quite possible. But if let's say you need to have custom made shelves and all those kind of things, of course, then it will be more expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
When you have the products in your shelves and you're selling them, how is the customer coming to you again and again? And do you think it's profitable once you keep your margins and everything?
Before COVID, it is okay, but now because of COVID, I wouldn't say it's sustainable. But again, if the way to sustain it actually would be to have a cooperative. So in area like in Malaysia and in India, again, where you have a manufacturing base, you can get, if let's say the location is very distributed, you can have different stores working to bulk buy together.
Bulk buy together.
And then you, yes, and then you can split. But unfortunately, I was not able to arrange for such a scheme among the small companies business here, the zero waste business here. Initially, when zero waste business started in Singapore, we had like 4 small retailers.
Okay.
Actually 5, yeah. Then after that, very quickly, 2
How
disappeared.
old?
So
How old is that when you're talking about starting? What year is that?
2018.
So that's
Yeah,
still
that's when it really started.
okay.
Yeah, only about 3 years.
3
Yeah.
years, not much.
So if the reason why I'm like tucked away in a little corner that nobody can see is mainly because of the rent. So the rent in Singapore is crazy. So if I am to have a high footfall in a shopping mall, I will not be able to survive past 2 months, because the rental is just way too expensive. But in other places like in Malaysia and in even like in Europe, a lot of the shops are actually either they own it, you don't have to pay a rent, or the rental is actually quite competitive. So I think if the model of consumption is such that people consume, like they stock up once in a month, then it's okay for people to travel to the place. Yeah. So then if based on that model, your location can be maybe a bit cheaper. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you said that anything like a cooperative model will work better than one or two individual stores asking for supplies. And
Correct.
what you said was also important, that Singapore rental, that is not very suitable for small businesses, but they don't provide any incentives for eco-friendly or sustainable businesses. That I was personally thinking that probably they do to Singaporeans who want to have such an initiative, because this is rare and it should be promoted in my eyes.
Yeah, they have, but the scheme somehow just does not apply to me, because first they will say employment. So if I employ somebody, then I can get the rebate for the stuff. But it's not really moving. I mean, the consumption base, the consumer base is not big enough to justify to have an employee for me. And I'm not sure, but maybe the other businesses will the small ones that I know, they actually also don't really employ. Initially, they did have, and then it was like part-time or something. So then they have another scheme, which was, I think you have to digitalize or something like that. Yeah, go online. I'm already, I do it myself. So I don't need to pay the money to get a consultant to do it for me. So again, that expense subsidy is not there.
Oh.
In actual fact, if I do it myself, which I can do, right? And it's actually cheaper than if I get a consultant with a subsidy included. So somehow the government scheme just fall through the cracks somewhere.
Yeah, so maybe it's for having more people engaged in a business so that more employees, more generation of money. Actually, it is a business model. So
Yeah, but it's not going to work for a business where you are growing the consumer. So how to change the consumption habit is the issue.
issue,
So
right?
yeah. So the consumer base is not big enough to sustain zero waste business in that sense. So the more successful businesses in Singapore, as you know, if you go to Scoop, right, you'll see that most of the people, they don't bring their containers. They will
Oh
buy in
yeah,
a
in
paper bag.
Singapore, right? Yeah, it's actually for me. I'm only 2 years old in Singapore, so it was because in India we always take our dabbas or boxes, lunch boxes. So for me, it was
Yes.
very strange. Okay, how everything and anything you need, you buy it even, and you don't buy in reusable cups or anything. You buy, even the tea you buy, it's in a packet, and it looks very plasticky and very
Yes.
strange to me.
Yeah, it is very strange because it's not good for health, but
Yeah.
people are health conscious, but yeah, it's I find it a bit sad, and because the business, the zero waste business wants to grow, right? They have a dilemma. So do they be strict like me and have very, very narrow band of customers, or should they allow the various step changes to allow the consumers to warm up to the zero
Yes,
waste?
because right now it's about appeasing. I have a feeling because when I thought of, actually, I suggested an idea like this to one of my relatives who is already doing some product, a digital product business. And I thought this is a very nice way of doing two things. One is reaching to the customer and with the right product. At least right in the sense that if you follow the 5 Rs and you know that your product is ending its cycle in the soil, at least you're satisfied, you're not creating a pile of garbage like you do usually. So at least that satisfaction is there, but yes, you will have to be in line that now you are also a competitor to the other brands, to the big FMCG. You have a FMCG of your own of those products. So yes, you are right that it is not going to be something that we are telling the consumer to consume less, but we are saying the consumer to switch the choice. This is how it is beginning
Yeah,
or sounding to begin.
yeah.
So
So, but unfortunately, that step somehow people get into a comfort zone, and then they say, "Oh yeah, okay, so I recycle."
right.
Yeah,
I consume plastic
and
and recycle. Yeah.
yeah, and then they'll say, "Oh, paper bag," right? So for Singapore, to use paper bag is actually probably more environmentally unfriendly because even if you want to recycle paper, there's a lot of transportation out of Singapore. You have to, a lot of the paper actually cannot be recycled because it's so polluted, contaminated,
Oh, is it?
or it is of a low quality. Yeah. So then we don't do recycling here in Singapore. Everything is shipped out. Yeah. So where does it go to? Closest Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Vietnam, all these places where it's
Actually,
cheaper, but
yeah,
it's not well
it's
well
not.
regulated.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually going into the seas, most of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is the sad part of in the product cycle.
Yeah.
So actually, maybe because you are so well read and so much into the business that you know about each and everything coming and going. Where for me as a consumer, I go to Scoop, I do take their brown packets, put my things into it, pack here, and when I don't need that brown packet, I cut it into pieces, put it into my compost bin, and then mix it with soil in the community soil and bury it. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
yeah, so but I'm not aware that what is the quality and how is the now the compost will be affected in a way. But somehow in my mind, I have made a better choice than the single-use plastics. So that is the first level when the consumer begins to be a zero waste consumer. This is the first level. Of course, I take my own bags. I take the small bags, but sometimes it is not possible to take so many boxes.
Yes, it's all right because at least you minimize. So it's just like an education, right? So once you pass a primary school level, you need to go into a secondary school level, and then gradually you have to keep on moving. But unfortunately for, I think in the zero waste movement, people do not have that kind of urgency that they need to graduate with a degree, for example, in zero waste. So they and then the businesses tend to also not discourage. So a lot of, if you join any forums, right, they will say, oh, you should not discourage the people, you cannot criticize them, right? So then people fall back into hey, at least I did this, right? And there's no progress. So if you look at, I think Europe is doing it's not perfect, but at least they are leading the zero waste kind of lifestyle, and they have very clear milestones. Milestones is what is really important. So it's difficult to have community kind of milestones, right? Because who is going to agree, whoever set that milestones? But if it is made at a country level, right? So they have to, Europe is very ambitious. So they say, oh, I'm going to cut down like export of recyclables by whatever amount. I want to have all non-carbon based energy by how many percent within whatever year. So in Singapore's context, I think it does not really jive together. So we have a big issue with our landfill. So we incinerate everything.
Yes.
Even the incinerated, you reduce it only down to 10% of the original volume, and you still have to dump it in the Semakau landfill.
Yes.
And it's filling up very fast. So that the milestones that is set by either NEA or
it's 2035 or 2030 or something like that.
No, yeah, but the milestones, like in terms of like for the business, the amount of waste that is generated, I don't see how it is actually going to meet that.
Yes. How are they going to achieve without changing the consumer habits? I don't know how it's going to happen. They're advertising it, they're talking to volunteers. I'm also a volunteer with NEA, and I have attended their zero waste thing. Volunteers are very enthusiastic, but it is still about encouraging others, but not about making laws or rules around that area, because you're not changing anything, but you're just trying to do like small work, which is like really telling people, please take your carry bag, please carry your water bottle, and very simple things actually.
Yeah, so that's why I say there is no serious milestones, in my opinion. There is lack of the urgency, and as you know, we are so sheltered here. We don't see the food shortage, we don't see the flooding, the drought, the fire, right? So we don't really feel it. And I say by the time we feel it, it's already too late, because
Too late.
yeah, you just look at the news, right? So China has got like floods nonstop. The Malaysia is also like that. So vegetable prices are going up. There's I don't know what other kind of pandemic, if it hits again, supply is also going to be affected, right? So just because we have been able to source from here and there, doesn't mean that the risk is not real. And we are increasing our population density so much faster that first, the waste has to go somewhere. It's not just also the consumption waste, right? So the sewage waste is also a real issue, right? So we always talk about all these things, but sewage is also one of the incinerated stuff.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we recover the water, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I do
but the
that.
dried sewage is incinerated, and it creates, I think, probably a lot more ash that needs to be landfilled than plastic itself.
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah, so Singapore's population density has a number if it has to be sustainable as well, right? We will never get to a net zero, but we have to reduce, because it's no longer about whether we can buy our way out of this or not. We have the constraints, the real physical constraints, you know. So but I find that everybody is unwilling to talk about the bad things. So then they always talk about, oh, let's encourage recycling. So it's like you can't continue this recycling message anymore, right? You have to be a reduced kind of message. It's not recycling message.
Actually,
Yeah.
as soon as you give recycling an option, which should be the last thing to do, is like you're
Correct.
giving a choice that you buy plastics, you buy anything and everything can be recycled, but is not recycled because it's such a mixed waste. The plastic bottle has a
Yes.
different thing, and so the plastic this, and we actually happen to recycle much less than we talk about it.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that the other camp that is trying to say that reusing is not environmentally friendly. They actually have overlooked the fact that if you want to do recycling, you have to do a lot of cleaning. And even if you try to clean a lot, use the water to wash the plastic or wash the glass,
Yeah, right.
right? Ultimately, you do your part, but you just need somebody down the chain to contaminate it, and then the whole batch cannot be recycled, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So though the difference in probably like the recycling or reusing it is small, it adds up. So actually, it's more of the problem of once you send the things into a recycling loop, a lot of it will get lost. So for example, glass. Glass recycling is very difficult in actual fact, because there are so many grades of glass, right? Unless it is so uniform that you collect all the brown beer glass, all the green beer glass, and all those things. But otherwise, there is always that different grades of glass. And then what happened is you downgrade it all the time, because sorting is so expensive.
Difficult.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, what I've always been proposing is that big businesses, I think the business should have, so from the oil and gas industry, for example, we don't sell petrol in little cans. We ship them in very big, ultra large crude oil container ships, right? Or whatever. We have the economies of scale. And then what happened is then they will unload the product and put it into tanks. And then they are refilled into the petrol kiosk. And then the car comes and pick up the petrol Nobody throw away the car, right? It's like I finish my petrol, I'll throw away my car. No, you refill. So it's very ironic, but the polluting industry is actually showing you how refilling works, you know. So yeah,
Okay.
so my dream is like, if let's say we buy milk from New Zealand, right?
Right, right,
The
right.
milk comes in I don't know, like,
One liter, those Tetra packs right now.
yeah, but if let's say it is shipped in
Shipped,
uh
refrigerated, or I don't know which form. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, some refrigerated, pasteurized, very
Pasteurized,
big
yeah. UTS, yeah.
stainless steel refillable
Mm.
container that can be washed again and again,
Mm.
then they come to a facility that is like very stringent, very clean. I don't know what USP grade maybe, right? And then it is a rebottling service here. So all the glass bottle get refilled. The
Mm.
glass stays here. The only thing that gets moved around between Singapore and
Mm.
New Zealand will be that stainless steel
Containers.
tank.
Tank.
Yes. Yeah. Or maybe we don't get from New Zealand, you know, that it can be nearer Thailand or something like that. Or if we really have to get it from New Zealand, it's only in milk powder, which then, you know, get reconstituted here or something like that to reduce the packaging. And yeah, so
Yeah,
I don't
actually,
know.
the
I
way
don't know
the
how the
product is manufactured, everything has to change a lot. And moreover, I think my husband himself is in FMCG, and we do discuss
mm,
about things like that because
mm,
he makes pampers and diapers.
mm,
Okay, so which
mm,
is
mm,
also a big waste, because the way
mm,
a mother consumes a diaper on a daily basis,
yes.
it's like huge these days. And
Yeah,
because it is
so
convenient, it that's why we don't train the child to be potty trained till they are 4. And
yeah,
yeah.
so that is also a rather stark reality that we have to face. So for example, if I had been able to rise in the oil and gas business and become a CEO or something, I would say I would set a timeline to divest the business away from um, petroleum, diesel, and all these things. You will have a timeline. You have to scale it down, and then you convert the plant to do something else, right? We can always re-engineer the plant, the asset, to do something. We can pull down buildings and then we build another building. So we can also pull down the plant and build something else. So, but the thing about oil and gas is that you will definitely need some oil and gas. You will never say you don't need any, because even the electric car needs lubricants that is made from chemicals,
Okay.
right? So instead of hanging on to a technology that we really seriously need to phase out, and there's alternative for allowing it to be phased out, we should be looking at focusing on what are the things that still needs to be used, how to do it safer, more responsibly, and then have a closed loop,
Closed
right?
loop,
The
right? Yeah.
collection, correct. Yeah. So I think there's actually a lot of opportunity for
Opportunity.
business,
Yes,
the
there
big ones,
is.
the big ones,
Big
because
ones.
all these little small shops like mine
Yeah.
is a
It's
small thing.
Yeah, it's a small thing. It is good to encourage individuals, but the big problems are created by big businesses. So
Mm,
if they change something or phase out something, if it is not in trend to have a petrol-filled car, so automatically you're offering something. It's a new business opportunity. But yes, they have to do it like that, phasing out and then getting into
yeah.
something else. Yeah.
So I think like little businesses like mine, we are just like I love bacteria, so I would just consider myself like a small bacteria that is actually doing the little changes. So
Oh,
yeah, because in the whole ecosystem, bacteria is actually very important. Without the bacteria, you cannot
yeah.
recycle the nutrients, right? So
Right.
I think normalizing such a conversation rather than say, oh, you cannot discourage people, you should not talk about this. And we should make it trendy, to be talking about such things. And once people are more and more used to it, then they will consider more. And I think it's such a shame that we are not utilizing the social media and airwaves and TV much more. Instead of like playing the advertisement to say, oh, how to use the blue bean, if we are able to have really like snippets of talks to get people to think, where does this go? So because our government is very concerned about criticism is not exactly bad. It is to, if we take it positively, it is for improvement. And criticism comes as a free idea, it's like a lot of businesses have to pay like 5 million to McKinsey to get consultation. And we used to laugh at my company. I say, hey, why the company spend $5 million get McKinsey to come in and tell us what we have been telling you, CEO?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I always tell people, I say, you should engage and talk to people, because the criticism is free consultation. You don't have to pay somebody on the street to go and get feedback,
Yeah, actually, feedback is free, and just let it come and entertain it.
Yeah.
True,
Correct.
true.
And then the moment we are able to maybe channel that level of intensity or the energy of the feedback, it need not come out as very brash or very rude or anything. It need not be very negative. But once people get used to having those kind of talk show, right? Then discussing all these sensitive issues, then we will not get so easily hurt, like say, oh, I'm already doing my best to recycle. You cannot tell me that I'm not doing enough,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, here people are like they're like when I started, motivating people around here just by sending a few pics here. So people are like either they're too busy with their own life, and they definitely think this is something that government is taking care of. Why individuals have to be bothered about? Because the city looks so clean anyways. So our garbage is being managed. We are a developed country. We don't need to do anything different because we are anyways following the laws. We are trying to segregate the waste, and that is all we can. This is what an individual thinks, at least. So so we are
So
like
I have
pampered that way.
Correct. So I have this poster which I don't like shove it in the face of the people, but when they come into the store or they are standing outside, they look in. There's the poster there. There's, oh, Malaysia is like the biggest garbage
Yeah, I remember.
thing,
I've
right?
seen
So
that.
they do read, and then they say, oh yeah. And then when they at my counter, it writes, where is your plastic going, right? So to set them thinking, recycling does not mean that's the end. So I also said in the past that I don't like this idea about recycling, because honestly, I don't know. I don't see the recycled stuff coming back. I recycle so much, but last time when I was in the supermarket, I can only see 2 brands that say that they contain recycled materials. So there's so much recycling, but where are all the plastic?
And
Right?
moreover,
So,
it can be recycled only once. After that, cannot be recycled. That's also a story of recycling. So this is not something which can go on and on. It is a system which will stop anyways, because basically you have to produce more plastic to get the needs again done.
so I also provided another perspective. I said, when I have like 100% pure virgin plastic, the quality is good. I can control my process. My container can last me longer.
Yes. Yeah.
But if the plastic comes with recycled plastic content, have you ever considered you are actually downgrading the pure plastic?
Yes.
And then the container is going to last me way shorter than a pure one will
Right.
last me.
Yeah.
So that's why Shell and the Singapore government are talking about chemical plastic recycling,
Okay.
which is basically you take the plastic regardless of what form, and then you heat it under very high temperature and pressure and turn it back into oil. And then from there, you do the refining again,
Oh my God.
which is, yeah, and I find that it's very difficult to speak to people who are probably not in the industry. Then they will say, yeah, it's doable, it's better than nothing, right? It's better than the recycling the plastic or throwing it away. I said, yeah, the the fact that this solution is actually creating more of a problem, which is the problem with cracking plastic, right, or heating plastic, is that you end up with a very toxic, heavy substance
Right.
where nobody wants it. And how the trade actually handles it is you dilute it, all the gunk, you dilute it away such that people cannot detect it. So it's actually quite bad. So in the industry, Singapore was, I think maybe probably is still a hotbed where people adulterate oil. So they will throw a lot of this rubbish, that is heavy stuff, into the fuel that is meant for ships. And then the ship engine will break down, and then it goes into the insurance, and then the insurance go into the logistics and all those kind of things. So it all comes back to us. So it's not a good solution. So then I say, so actually, instead of saying that I do chemical recycling, the thing is we have to have more urgency to reduce the amount of plastic that is produced.
Right. So actually, many as consumers, we don't understand the idea of reducing and refusing only. We think that is the life, that is the lifestyle. How can you question that itself? So I think this is something that only being conscious can come. If you are conscious about your actions, then you will know that there is less significance to buy more and just keep on buying, buying, buying. So buying is not life.
Yeah. Yeah, and people are also afraid of change. So for example, there are many rich people in Singapore who have made their wealth from selling plastics in the plastic packaging industry or in the oil trade. So they are resistant to change. But in the marine fuel area, actually Singapore is I think a very good example in forcing change. So Singapore has been a leader in changing the marine fuel area from metering, from selling, from standards. So they are also like supportive of using liquefied natural gas for ship.
Wow.
So we are also into that. I'm not sure what is the current development, but when the government comes in, they force a change, the change happen. So this is where I think the visionary acumen has to be there.
Right.
You have to be brave enough to say we need the change. We have to make the change, fix the milestone. Don't be so
resistant or just given to that others will criticize or my citizens will not like it, because I was also surprised that when I came here in India they are banning the plastic bags, and here everybody is using it. So I was like, what?
Yeah, because I think Malaysia, in India, you really are at the receiving end of the plastic rubbish. So the beach is like so polluted, right? So I think the beach cleanup, is it in Delhi or Mumbai or wherever?
They try to do it at multiple places, but it again gets polluted. So it has to be done
is
over.
it?
It has to be done over and over again. So the garbage problem is intense, and moreover, doing it one time is not enough. Yeah.
I'm not sure. There's one that went viral about how this guy cleaned up the beach within I don't know how many years, but it took a few years and the community effort to clean it up. Yeah.
Okay.
So in Malaysia they also do it, but I always ask them, do you know, like for your beach cleanup, right? Every time you clean the river, you clean the beach, right? Do you know all this rubbish, right? It's just picked up and put into another piece of plastic and put in the landfill again. So yeah, so it just go round and round. So there are certain things that I don't support. So I don't, there's this eco-brick thing.
Yes. Do you
Eco-brick.
support that? Because personally, when I have those plastics, earlier I came with a bag to you that if there are people who are making bags out of these plastics, maybe they're usable and you are reusing. But then we couldn't send those plastics to the people who are actually making. So we thought, then I heard about that eco bricks. Then I started putting all the plastic in a plastic big bottle. And now I have 2 plastic bottles with a lot of plastic inside. Now I don't have any person to use that also. But in Singapore there are not, but in India they say that there are small businesses coming around it to make structures, architectural designs around those eco bricks.
Yeah, so there are some who say that it can be done. I say, would you build your house with that?
No, so basically not houses, it's just like planters, that you can try. Maybe as a support system. You're not using bricks, but maybe as a support structure to hold them together. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, but there's also a limited amount, right?
Yes.
So I always find that these so-called solutions are stopgap measures. It's like a ticking bomb. So for example, I think in Holland, they actually say they use the plastic trash to make the roads.
Yes. In India also they are trying that because it's too much. You don't know what to do with that. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem is when it's a road, you get microplastic attrition coming out, and this is another problem.
In the air.
Another nightmare.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, nobody really knows what to do of the plastic that has been created. And now, what is the real solution of ending that? How the cycle ends? So,
I think that we can have an end to it. Like for example in Japan, right? But first of all, the commitment of stopping the production with the timeline of stopping the production, it must be committed.
Yes, basically.
Suddenly I think of Afghanistan, where they say I'm going to withdraw from Afghanistan. So that day I'm going to take out everything, right? So you have to make that kind of commitment, but maybe not as bad as the Afghanistan withdrawal. Do it properly. So anyway, you have to have a deadline and say that then I'm going to ban all the plastic, no more production. So you also give time for the businesses to divest out of manufacturing disposable containers, for example. So with that timeline, and then the rest of the plastic that has been created, what do we do? I find that the best way of doing it is actually incinerate them, right? Because if you don't incinerate them, you put it into other users, there are still going to be like all the microplastic issue, right?
Yes.
So, but when you burn them, what happens is if you are able to control the temperature well and it's very high, you can reduce the formation of dioxins, right? To as low as possible. And then the carbon dioxide that has been released, you have to grow the plants, you have to have the microbes in the ocean, that is going to absorb. We should not pollute the sea such that the microbes in the algae or whatever in the sea cannot grow. So we have to have more plants growing we
To
need to have
absorb
more,
that carbon dioxide. Yeah.
yeah, and the soil, right? So like, for example, in Singapore, we're covering everything with
Green.
cement these
Yeah.
days. Yeah, so it's just going to exacerbate. So the floods that we have is actually exacerbated not only by the climate change, right, heavier rainfall, but also we are reducing the capacity of the ground to absorb the water. So we are like narrowing from both sides. We are making the living condition even
Difficult.
narrower.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
Right.
there's actually a lot of area where we can commit to doing. It's very uncomfortable, but change is never easy. So you have to, get used to the discomfort.
Discomfort.
I,
Yes.
yeah, it is just like in you want to be muscular, you have to go to the gym and work out. No amount of pills you're going to pop is going to create big functioning muscle, right? So
Right.
yeah, you
Right.
have the discomfort, you have to do it because there's no other way round about it.
Right, right. So true. Uh, Actually, talking to you, I think it's always very informative and inspiring. Also, at least for me, it works that way. That my zero waste journey is only a start. It is touching
Yeah,
so many topics, and it is absolutely just like. But the good thing is that if it starts, then it spreads. So yeah, that
yeah.
bacteria thing is there, and now it'll do its job.
Yeah, I want to be the amoeba. So what I really want people to understand is that it is not impossible to do. It just require effort, and I'm sorry, you cannot buy effort off the shelf, right? So you have to have it. And one thing good about this is that the effort that you learn to make here is going to be an investment for you in your life forever. So it is a discipline which is going to help you in relationship, in business, in career, and yeah, in handling any stress in the future as well. So it's a very, very good investment. We like to talk about investment and earnings, right? So I think this is the best. So there are somebody who asked me, uh, finance or the economy is so bad, where can I invest my money, right? Best investment, I say the best investment is in education and in health. These are two things that nobody can take away from you, and it will never devalue. Yeah.
Right,
So if
right.
you have that, and then also if you have the discipline, right, and the kind of focus, that is also something that is invaluable. No amount of training is going to give you that unless you put it into practice.
Right. So it's like just knowing the right things and doing the right way again and again is, I think,
Yes.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. So if today I forget, then tomorrow I try again. If tomorrow
Yeah.
I forget again, the day after I must really, really try. Or if I keep on forgetting, then I say today I'm not going to do anything else except that. Right. So it's, yeah, I think everybody needs to pick up a sports or something, because I find that it's very similar to sports training, right? So it's the same philosophy that you have to keep on repeating. So somebody also asked me, how do you learn a language, or how do you like improve your English? I say, I cannot remember all the grammar rules. So I only listen to BBC many, many times throughout the years until it becomes a habit,
A part
right?
of
So
you.
it becomes part of you. So same thing for all these kind of habit. You have to just keep on
Keep
repeating until it
repeating.
becomes part of you.
True, true, true. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Actually, so much to learn through your golden experiences. Yeah, but I really
No,
wish
no, no.
that from you, and it should be infectious, just like laughter, infectious.
Yeah. So I also have learned that you can't expect change immediately. So if I speak to like 100 people, if only one changes the habit a little bit, I think that is already an achievement. So
Right.
the problem with Singaporeans is that if we don't see it going to be impactful, then we don't even start. So that's the problem. Everything you have to start from a very small. So like, for example, people say how profitable is like the zero waste business. Then I'll ask them, how many years before Amazon become profitable, right? So
yeah.
everything has to start somewhere. Even Tesla also, right? They have to start small, but it helps. He sell his PayPal business and got a lot of money. Yeah. So but everything starts small, and you have to go and create the ability to let it grow. So yeah. So I'm, and if I'm not successful, it does not mean that is something that should not have been done in the first place. But in history, there's in all the big things that has been achieved, we have a lot of small little things of people who have been sacrificed along the way. It's just the nature of things. So yeah, I think it's important to make the start, that's all.
Start and consistent, through small actions all the time.
Yeah.
Slow and steady.
Milestones.
Milestones. Because after a while, human behavior is triggered with achieving milestones and looking at the next step. So we want to see ourselves progressing, and there is a journey where what is next? What is next?
Yeah.
So nice talking to you. I think I'll
Thank you very much.
I'll stop the recording, because otherwise I want them to be patient enough to look at it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'll catch up with you in the store sometime soon to refill my bottles.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Hui.
Okay, bye.